Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. It's been a really long break, but I wanted to make this one for such a long time because I get asked on my Instagram every week, I think, if I will recommend vegan children's books. And we have a lot. So here are all of our favorites. The first three I'm going to talk about are all by the author Ruby Roth. The first one is That's Why We Don't Eat Animals, a book about vegans, vegetarians, and all living things. This is really concise and it goes through all the different ways that we as a society use animals. So entertainment, food, animal testing. It has a look inside factory farms, so those pages are a little bit darker. We do look at this book with Frida and have done for quite some time. It depends whether you would like to introduce your child to that. I think it's important for them to see the truth. So the next Ruby Roth book is V is for Vegan, which is really sweet and probably more appropriate for a slightly younger child. As I said, Frida's just under 2 right now, and the front of the book says the ABCs of being kind. It goes through the alphabet letters with vegan words, and it's very sweet. The last Ruby Roth book is Vegan is Love, which is awesome because the focus of the book is all about love and compassion and how living a vegan lifestyle is just that. So the message is really, really positive, as are all 3 of her books. It goes through clothing, touches on animal testing. At the end of each section, it just explains why we as vegans choose the compassionate way, why we choose love. This next book is the only festive one I have in here, and it's Santa's First Vegan Christmas. I'm pretty sure it's the only Christmas book we have because we have undecided ideas about Santa Claus. We're not really doing the whole Santa Claus thing. Anyway, that's by the by. This is a really cute story. It's about a reindeer called Dana, and she really opens Santa Claus's eyes to all the exploitation of Christmas and how reindeers shouldn't be forced to pull the sleigh and how this story is wrong and how we can change it. So this is really sweet because you see Santa Claus open his mind and change his idea of Christmas. So if you're looking for a festive book, this is perfect. The next 3 books I'm going to show you are all based around the theme of activism. And while they're not what I would call vegan specific, they're definitely related to veganism. I'd say more so if you want to raise your child in a way where activism is just part of your life. The first one we've had since Frida was about 6 months old, and it's really awesome. One of my favorites, actually, and it goes through the alphabet of activism. It's A is for activist. It really exposes children from a young age to lots of language and terminology and words that they wouldn't otherwise be exposed to. It really normalizes things like the term activist. And it just talks about lots of stuff that I know I wasn't aware of when I was 2. The next one is another alphabet one, and it's the ABCs of Anarchy. This was one that was bought for Frida by a really good friend of ours. And again, this is another really awesome one if you're raising your child, in a vegan way, but then also in a way that you want them to be exposed to activism and activism terminology. Things like Liberation Front, mutual aid, unschooling, lots of terms that most people wouldn't just talk about. That's why I really love this book. The next one was also bought by the same friend who got us the last one, and this is The Little Squatter's Handbook. Again, this is a really awesome book that exposes young children to the idea of what a squatter is. I mean, how many young kids know what a squatter is nowadays? It's definitely not the kind of thing that parents would talk to their children about. But if you talk to your children about a topic like squatting, then you'd also talk to your children about capitalism and why wealth is distributed unevenly and why that isn't fair, etc. So this book's really cool, and it takes you through the story of 4 homeless people who find an abandoned house and turn it into something beautiful and squat there together. So this is a lot of fun. The next 3 vegan books I'm going to talk to you about are not overtly vegan, but they're what I call sneaky vegan books. Andrew and I have bought these books for different friends of ours and family and given them to non-vegan children we know as a way to hopefully get them to open their minds and think about veganism, loving animals, liberation, etc. The first one is Animal Rescue by Patrick George, and this was one of Frida's favourite books when she was younger. She still really likes it now, but it's cool because it has clear pages inside, and you open the pages, and then on one side the animal is trapped in whatever situation they're in our society, and then you turn the clear page over to the left and you free them. And so it has no words in, so you can talk about the situation of the animals. So even though it's a book that you can start really young, you can use it for much, much longer because you can discuss with them why animals are used like that. and why it needs to change and how they can help that. This next sneaky vegan book is called Nanny Fox. It's about a fox who loved chickens, not to eat, just as friends. And you see him sitting at the dinner table with his fox family, his mum and his dad and his brother and his sister, and they're all eating chicken, and he's there and he won't eat chicken like they do because he loves them. He loves them as friends. He sees them as individuals. This just reminds me of being vegan in a non-vegan world. This final book in the vegan sneaky category is Under the Same Sky by Britta Teckentrup. This is beautifully written, beautifully illustrated. It's also very simple in the way that it has a vegan message because it talks about the same sky, the same love, the same this, the same that. And so it draws together really simple ideas, but there's this theme of sameness with how we are in the same place, we feel the same emotions. And so I interpret this as feeling the same as the animals, being in the same world as them, etc. The last few books I'm going to show you are all what I would say are overtly vegan books. And the first one is one of our faves because it's all about breastfeeding and promoting breastfeeding. It's called That's Not My Mama's Milk. I've struggled to find books that do promote breastfeeding in a vegan way. Actually, this is one of the only ones that I've found. And it's really cool, really simple, goes through each animal feeding their young. And then at the end, it's, this is my mama and her milk is just for me. And then you see the picture of the mum, the human mum, feeding her human baby human milk. And then you see all of the other animals feeding their babies their milk because that's how it's supposed to be. I love this next book because nursery rhymes are so full of propaganda. It's untrue. And you only really notice this once you become a parent and raise your vegan child. You look around and you see all of these really horrible messages full of just propaganda about animals. So when I found this vegan nursery rhyme book, I was so happy because we now sing nursery rhymes, but we sing the vegan version. This book is very cute, very simple, Just Like Me by Stanley. It talks about how the animals have feet to walk with, eyes to see with. Just like me is after each sentence, and so there is this comparison being drawn. Every page there is a comparison being drawn between us and the animals, and we are breaking down those differences in this book, which is great. The Bibbolybob book is probably one of my favorites at the moment. It's really funny. It's about an alien called Bibbolybob who came down to Earth and befriended Earthlings. And he goes through meeting all these different Earthlings and he asks them what kind of Earthling they are, whether they're basically a carnivore, a herbivore, an omnivore. And he goes through and he meets a cat and a hedgehog and all these different animals. And at the end, he meets a human. And he asks the human what kind of earthling they are. And the human doesn't answer because I think she's a young child. And so that's why she doesn't respond. And instead, he has these sort of X-ray goggles so he can look at the intestines of the individuals. And he looks at her intestines and gut and stomach. And he determines that based on what her insides look like, she's a herbivore. And then you can look at his notebook at the end of the book and you can look at all the notes that he's made about each different earthling. So this is probably a lot more appropriate for an older child, but we've been reading this with Frida for some months. I think it's going to come into its own more as she gets older, but she does like this. Why Are You a Vegan and Other Wacky Verse? We bought this at a vegan festival over a year and a half ago, but we've actually been reading it since we got it up until now. There's lots of funny verse in here. It's also the kind of thing that you could probably get a non-vegan family member to read. But I think the best way to do this would be if your child took the book to said family member. So that has to be something organic that happens on its own. This has happened in our family and in our house, and it's beautiful to see. And that's it, folks. That's all the books on Frida's shelf that are vegan related. If you have any on your kids' bookshelves that I haven't mentioned in this video that you'd like to recommend me, please write them down in the comments below. Also, if you have any recommendations, pop them in the comments below. If you enjoyed, like the video and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. See you next one. Bye. Oh, bye.